Good evening and welcome to our guests. We'll make it about a minute to find our seating. Okay, so I'll give the team doing the most important job to finish. No, please take the best shot, the best clip. Do it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. We are very few, so we have to talk to each other. Okay, it's an intimate event, so we've got to really be with each other. Welcome once again. I've been told it's not good to start or end or do anything without a prayer. And I've not been, God blocks my calls. So I'm going to ask somebody who I know has a speed dial with God to help us say the prayer. Andrew Chamagir. Yeah, everything he asks for, he gets. So you'd want that.
Let's all pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for our friends and family. Come before you and we put this occasion before you. May you lead us, guide us. Above all, give us the knowledge and the understanding to make sense. Whatever is going to be discussed. Amen.
Amen. Okay, or Amin, depending on where you fall. So my name is Flavia Tumusime Kabura, and I will be your host for this afternoon. I stand here because that just seems so far away. So for those who will be giving their speeches, I'll leave them to the podium. But this is an intimate crowd, so I want to be able to be with you. I've seen some familiar faces. We were together yesterday, even today at the bankers conference. But here we are again because one of the best things to talk about, the most juicy conversation is around money, right? Any day, you see it from her, Ramla saying money, yeah? It's a very juicy conversation to have, but it's only good to have this kind of conversation around money when you're with the right people, isn't it? Yeah, the ones who will help you either make it, multiply it, save it, all the way. One of the conversations we talked about today in the bankers conference was that this is a country you should retire in, that we should tell the foreigners who are coming not to just come see gorillas and waterfalls, but to come retire in Uganda. Do you believe that story? Would you actually tell someone to retire in Uganda? Okay, maybe the most important question, are you going to retire in Uganda? Oh, thank God. Then we are preaching to the right crowd. So what does retirement look like? And I'm not pointing to the people who are close to retirement, because in this country, we retire at 95. Yes. Who is older than 45? Or those of us who are older than 45. Are you retired? Hey, exactly. So in this country, retire. Actually, no. The retirement age in this country, do you know it? When you're tired. As long as you have a bit of strength in yourself, you can do what you want to do. And I think the thing about Uganda is not a country you can live in when you're on the other side of poverty. You need to have money to enjoy this country, isn't it? And the one thing I can tell you need to do is to plan, right? It's the reason we're in this room. You know the two brands that are in here, but the main brand that is talking to you today is Xeno. I know if you have my accent, you might say Xeno. It's fine. But the idea is that if you understand the content behind Xeno, you'll be fine. So let me tell you my story. About a year ago, I think glad it's like a year ago if you've seen my times. It's a year ago. I heard of this great platform, and how I heard of it, they sent me a brilliant PR package that looked so nice. So I got curious, and I downloaded the app, and I went online, and I saw what it was about. And I didn't sign up until I actually interfaced with it. And I realized they actually could show me the numbers. For someone who, we're not the ones the president wants, I didn't do sciences. So numbers disturb me. Unless it's money I'm getting, there I will know all the numbers. Outside of that, I had to calculate, say, okay, this in 2 years will look like this. Okay, if I give you 5 million, it will look like this in 5 years. No thanks. But this app, or when I interfaced with it online, actually showed me how much do you want to put. I said, okay, let's say 500,000 every month, right? And it did the math for me. It gave me an entire chart. I said, wonderful. This, I can actually have a conversation with my friends and sound intelligent, which I am, but when it comes to numbers, you know? So I said, wow, why doesn't everyone know about Xeno? How come I'm getting to know about it now? And so I'm excited that now it won't just be me and a few people in this room. The world will know about it, because this is it. This is how you get the world to prepare for whatever it is. My emergency could be different from your emergency, right? Yours could be $1 million emergency. Mine could be 100K. It's okay. You don't have to know. I don't have to know. As long as I'm planning for it. You know what COVID did? Everybody was stuck in their homes. And some people were saying you know how it's so bad, we barely have food to eat. And by that they meant they cut down on cereal. Right? Other people really did not have something to eat. And you know who you think didn't have something to eat? You think it's the lady who sells beignet, what is it? Groundnuts on the road. No, she had something to eat. She has a backup plan. She has a garden somewhere where her and her entire family get food. Do you know who didn't have food? Should I point at you? Yeah. It's the people who make more than 3 million shillings a month, you know, because there was no planning. So it's not that the income is not coming in. There's no plan for when it either is not coming in or your lifestyle has changed slightly, right? And it could be that you have a child now. It could be that you have a wife now. We're also burdens in our own way, and it's okay. But nowadays, life and husbands are a burden. Yeah. But but it could be that you have an extra responsibility. It could be that you just have acquired a new taste for champagne and you need to keep it up. Nobody's knocking that, but you need to plan. That way, when they're saying the economy is economying, you're not part of the tweets. Yeah? Who's feeling the economy in this room? Wonderful. You're alone, Chamagiron. Everyone is okay because they planned. So we want to introduce you, if you do not already know, if you're not already part of it, to Xeno, which lets you plan for everything. And I told Gladys, I love Xeno for one thing. They let me plan for everything at the same time. So I plan for the dress I'll buy in 2 weeks. I can plan for my son's school fees. And I can also plan for a mortgage payment. I can plan for everything at the same time. So when I come here for this gig and I earn 500,000 shillings, I know how I'm going to divide the 500,000 shillings. So this, if you walk out of here saying, but are you sure this thing is nice? I implore you just right now. It's myxeno.com, right? Let's give it less than a minute. Everyone get out your phones. Since now the founder is here, Wim is here, you have no choice. Go to myxeno.com. And by the end of today, by the end of this event, you keep going through as we talk, as we show you different things. Keep going through it, interface with it if you haven't, and you will tell me what you like about it by the end. Don't worry, it is you for me to speak on this mic. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to put my first speaker on, and I think I'll allow him go up to the podium. Please, from MTN Uganda, since we're in their home and they're hosting us, Wim van Helfert. Welcome. We're Africans, we Bugalo. Yay! Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Stay here at MTN premises. Deputy Governor, the head of CMA, USB, fellow bankers, not a banker yet, but a fellow bankers. All protocol observed, everybody who made this, the inventor of Xeno also, of course. You're most welcome this afternoon for this small ceremony we are putting together here, because we have a big announcement to make. We have a big celebration. We are celebrating, I think, Ugandan entrepreneurship, Ugandan innovation, and I think we collectively should be proud of what Xeno has achieved and what they're just getting started with. We are not going to spoil the party. We're going to let the right people say the right things. So for me, I'm just the host. So I'm just welcoming you to MTN. Richard, who is the managing director of the mobile money company, is going to take over from me after this. He's going to continue the speech on behalf of MTN. I just want to say a big warm yellow welcome, and we're looking forward to a fruitful afternoon together, and we're really proud that we are here. We are the ones who can break the news together with Xeno, the amazing achievement. Because I think one thing we all sure and we all know is that saving does change your life. When you really need it, it's too late to start doing it. And you have to do it in advance. You have to plan so that by the time you really need it, there. So may I invite my colleague Richard Diego, the managing director of the MTN Mobile Money Company, to take over from here and to make his allocation this afternoon's presentation. Thank you, and you're most welcome.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Our chief guest, the Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda, Dr. Michael Atingi Ego. We are very excited to have you here. The CEO of MTN Uganda, Wim, the founder and CEO of Xeno Investment, Mr. Yeko Ongodia, Karibu. The CEO of Uganda Retirement Benefit Regulatory Authority are present here with us. Mr. Martin and Suvuga, the CEO of Capital Market Authority, Mr. Patrick, Mr. Keith Kalyejira. We welcome you to this event. We are supposed to have the ED of Financial Sector Deepening Uganda. Yes. You're most welcome, sir. Mr. Patrick Ayota. Mr. Patrick Oketa. The Bank of Uganda National Payment Systems team, wherever you are, we thank you so much for making this happen. It would not have been possible without you. The Managing Director of Centenary Bank, Mr. Fabian Kasi, you're most welcome. Members of the media houses present, the MTN Mobile Money staff, MTN Uganda staff, Xeno employees and partners, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. Today marks a very special day for us as MTN and Xeno because, like we mentioned earlier, we are in the spirit of building Uganda and buying Uganda. We buy Uganda and build Uganda. This is the first of its kind service that we are launching this afternoon, and we are very excited to be launching a unique proposition for the customer that is actually goal-based. This has not been done before. In most cases, we've actually been doing the usual loan product that we have in the market. But the difference with this is that it's a targeted saving that customer is going to be able to use for a specific goal. So we are saying the customer is able to save money for a specific goal, and that could be, it could be a saving for school fees. School fees is coming up in September. That's the school fees season. So we are giving the customers an opportunity, for example, to save for school fees, to save for that house, that dream house, to save for that dream car, to save for retirement, and so many other targeted products and you know, to improve their life. But I'll take you back into 2009 when we launched mobile money. When mobile money launched in 2009, it was predominantly looked at as a store of value. It was an account that should be able to facilitate a customer to keep money, but not only do that, but also send money to the loved ones, send money to the business partners that they work with, but also withdraw some money from the agent, deposit at the agent, the basic services. We call them basic services, but over the years, we have developed key services like bill payment, MoMo Pay, loans and savings, the payments, you know, solutions, collections, and so many others. Today, we launch a very unique one with Xeno, which is a service that will help customers save, but also invest for the future, for those particular targeted, you know, aspirations that they need to spend money on. Now, as MTN, we are very committed to working with partners, regulators, government, and so many other stakeholders in the country to drive financial inclusion. This is a demonstration today that we are committed to continuously providing services that key to the customer's need, because this then will empower the customer and give them financial freedom in the long term. Now, in our quest to provide leading digital solutions for the success of the customers that we provide services to, it is part of our strategic intent to continue in this direction. And as we are all aware, the role of domestic savings plays in attainment of sustainable economic growth through provision of funds, such as the ones that customers will be able to access through the Xeno MTN partnership. A customer will have to save as low as 10,000 shillings through the USSD code *165 *5 *7 hash, like we are going to be communicating the customers, and this is free of charge. We are saying that the saving is free of charge. The withdrawal of the savings is also free of charge from the savings account, and the investment of this money is also not going to. So that is very critical for us. The Xeno MTN investment product on the MoMo account will allow customers not only save, but also to invest savings. And the service will be available 24/7. They can even do it in the middle of the night when they make up their mind in terms of what they actually want to achieve for the future. So the limits are boundless for the customer in terms of what they can do. The service is demystifying investment in simple terms. And as part of the onboarding process, utilizing a few questions, the customer needs to accept there are terms and conditions for all the services that we offer. So it is important that the customer reads. There are a bouquet of services that the customer will be able to enjoy within the mobile money menu. This service is also available on the Xeno app, my Xeno app, and so the customer has two channels. Besides the mobile money platform, they should also be able to directly go to the Xeno app and apply and start saving immediately. We have integrated our platforms to be able to seamlessly communicate to each other, no matter the channel that the customer of the two. That is very important for all of us to take note. So the service is simplifying and democratizing access to investments in the form of financial instrument. This is a huge milestone. We are talking about investments in treasury bills, bonds, equities, and these are also invested through unit trust. So the returns certainly must they are very, very exciting for the customer and very competitive, I must say. So we want not only to raise the awareness to our customers about the service, but also deepen their understanding of the benefits and how the product can organize and align their financial life. MTN customers can now invest the money on their mobile money wallet in unit trust and finally earn market returns. This is in line with MTN's belief that everybody deserves the benefit of a modern connection. That is in line with our ambition 2025. The convenience of this product will allow people from all walks of life who have access to the MTN mobile money USSD menu. And that ultimately will also embed this within our mobile app to select the financial goal, set a target amount, and start saving toward. Now, as part of our effort to drive financial inclusion, with the guidance of the sector regulator, Bank of Uganda, a strategic decision was made to align the Xeno MTN investment product to other savings services on the MTN menu to make it seamless for customers to save and invest. That's the reason we have placed it under loans. And so even a customer who may not be aware where to find Xeno, they're able to go into the loans and savings menu. Just below that menu, option 7 allows them to transact, to save on Xeno and then make the investment. Ladies and gentlemen, like I mentioned earlier, these savings and investment transactions are free we don't charge. I think that's very critical. I just want to share with you quick numbers. We've been piloting for a few months, but in terms of the early adopters, 28,700 customers have actually participated in, have actually saved. And like I mentioned, the minimum is 10,000. So 28,700 customers have been able to save on average 138,900. You can do the math to know that we have collected at least 4 billion in just the pilot period. Now imagine we've not yet gone above the line. Once that happens, starting today, you can only imagine what is going to happen. So it is a highly sought after service. We are very confident. We are going to do a lot of communication, sensitization, together with Xeno to ensure that the uptake grows even much faster than the numbers I've just mentioned. So 81% of these transactions that have been made are on the MTN mobile money menu, the *165 *5 hash, and then the other 19% are happening on the Xeno app. So my friend, Mr. Yeko, you have a task to grow the 19%, but certainly I don't want your 19 to become 4 or 5 and I get 96. But I know you're going to do some work as well to ensure that you grow the usage on your own application. The good news is that the customer has two choices. Either way, we are integrated together, the systems are connected, so the funds, no matter which channel the customer uses, the funds still get the destination and invest accordingly. Like I mentioned, it is on my Xeno app. That is on Google Play Store. That app is available for Xeno. And in conclusion, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to once again congratulate Xeno, a Ugandan-owned company, for this partnership with MTN Mobile Money. And this is very key because it helps us reach the underserved population of the financial sector that will help us actually drive savings, but most importantly, invest in that field, in the very exciting instruments like treasury bills, bonds that have high yield, including unit trust investment. Unit trust investments currently are not the interest from unit trust investments. I think that's a big one. The interest comes fully. The tax authority doesn't take anything out of it. But we hope that continues. But yeah, so the customer has a wide range of options for sure, in which they can invest their monies. So all this would not have been possible without the support of our regulator, Bank of Uganda. The National Payment Systems Department has been very instrumental in supporting innovation, but also, most importantly, the speed with which they give us approvals. Commendable. We say a big thank you to Bank of Uganda, NPS. And we thank Bank of Uganda for enabling innovation that then allows us to develop key products such as going forward. We are not yet done. We are still developing new products that will keep inviting the Deputy Governor, who we are very excited to have amidst us today. And we would like to say a very big thank you, DG, for honoring our invitation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Richard Diego there from MTN. You now know that is the partnership. Of course, we'll have the team from Xeno also speak so much about it. I know we have from Centenary Bank, Fabian Cassie, and Centenary Bank always prides itself for reaching Andrew Chamagero's favorite people, Omuntu Wawansi, yeah? But you know what the battle is, because also recognizing the presence of the Deputy Governor of Bank of Uganda, Dr. Michael Atingego. I was with him 2 days ago, and we're talking about manufacturing and tourism, and those people want a lot of money because they want to set up factories and do all sorts of things, and that's a lot of money. And so they're talking to bankers. But then there's people who also want to start the MSMEs, right? Because there's SMEs and then there's the larger ones. And those are the ones the bank is talking to. But then the bank is telling you point blank, I'm not the one taking care of the MSMEs. There's other ways to finance that. There's microfinance and all of that. But those people also need to start somewhere before they come to the microfinance, isn't it? So you want to be able to go and say, I have my 2 million. What can you do for me? And the best way is to plan. So you see how Xeno is plugged into everybody? They are, Dr. Michael, they're plugged into everyone. And you see, this is the beauty, what I was telling you about. You see your target, where you currently are, what's invested, and the gain. So at least, you stop asking, hey, where are you putting my money? You see it. And of course, it is just as simple as *165 *5 *7 hash to get started. So the access is coming right to you. Allow me to welcome, because really I have no place speaking about Xeno more than this person coming up now. He should know because he's the brains behind it. Please welcome with a loud thud of appreciation, Aweko Ngodia from Xeno.
Thank you very much, everyone. I cannot tell you how happy I am to stand in front of the country that I grew up in, that educated me, that has nurtured me, but also in front of a lot of friends around the room, in front of mentors, people I went to school with, people I've worked with, people I've worked for, and then also a few people that have been fortunate enough to recruit on my team. Today, I would like to express my gratitude first to our customers, which I hope is all of you. Second, to our hosts, MTN Uganda and MTN MoMo, represented by none other than Mr. Wim and Mr. Yego, for being very kind to host us. Very importantly, I would also want to extend my appreciation to guest speaker, Mr. Martin Atingi Ego, who I worked for at the Bank of Uganda many moons ago. You won't believe it. But very importantly as well, our regulators, the Capital Markets Authority, as well as the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, represented respectively by Mr. Keith Kalyegira and Mr. Martin Nsubuga, fundamentally for their unwavering support in our journey so far. Very importantly, I'd like to recognize our guests, each of you that responded to our request. Mr. Stephen Mutana, we've had many conversations. I had many conversations with the gentleman we just met, even forgot, Mr. Moza Ali. I had many conversations with Koscha Magero, Grace. My board is here as well, represented by Rosemary, Mr. Ham, Mr. Grace Semakula. Thank you very much for turning up. But while we gathered here today, it is not just celebrate the pioneering technology that we have built. And Xeno is the first company in the world to execute goal-based investment on USSD in the world. We have invented this. We have pioneered this. We have put it in the hands of so many people, ranging from the person who helps us clean our office, Maya Scary at home, and CEOs of some of the international banks represented in this country. This is the power and the range of what we put together. But that's not what we celebrate. It could be. We're not even celebrating the brilliant young men and women who have made this possible. Started with just one engineer, and then two, and then three, and then four. Finally, for the first time in our entire history, we have 5 engineers building. But those are not the ones we're celebrating. We're not even celebrating the simple, delightful user interface, whether on the web, on the mobile app, or even on USSD. That's not what we celebrate. We're not even celebrating, unfortunately, the diversified portfolio of unit trust funds that we offer, from a money market fund, a bond fund, a domestic equity fund, a regional equity fund. We're not celebrating those things, giving you access to those investments. Not really. What personally I and my team, and hopefully I hope to recruit you, what we're celebrating is our ability to help our mothers, our aunties, our sisters to plan, to save, and invest for that financial goal they would otherwise struggle to fund if they did not have a way to actually put away some money, to know how much they should put away, but very importantly, for that money to grow. It is our ability to make that happen is what, ladies and gentlemen, we want to celebrate. Not the shiny technology. It is fantastic, wonderful. Hopefully we will win an award someday, right? But it's my ability to help my mother, my sister. My dad is also a customer of Xeno. Don't know how I managed that. They are scary at home. There are so many of those stories, and we will share some of them today. I think the gentlemen that are manning the video will sort of be able to demonstrate that. So commendable as all of those are, we really should celebrate that we are able to solve a problem for a customer, a real life problem. Somebody that is going to, a single mother who's going to send that child to university. 10 years from now, that child is 8 years. How much is university going to cost? How much is that 4-year university education going to cost? She doesn't know. You don't know. But we built the tools to be able to figure that out and then work backwards to tell her, you know what? All you need to do is put away 87,000 consistently for the next 10 years. You will be good. You will not need future income to fund your child's university. Xeno's first customer came through September 2017. Some of you remember. She's not here today. We would not be here if it wasn't for people like that lady. Olive was her name. I met her for the first time in my life, first time in her life as well. For 20 minutes we talked. She had been referred to me by a friend I used to work with. Before starting Xeno, I used to work for the NSSF. I probably at some point managed all of yours money, all of your retirement money at some point, if you're saving retirement through the NSSF, right? Olive had for the longest time, now I need to tell you about Olive first, before I tell you what her problem was. She was 59. She was technically a year into retirement, but she suddenly realized that she might not have put away enough to fund her retirement. She had just gotten lucky that her contract was extended by 3 years. And she was running around to see whether there is a product, a service that can help her put away 300,000, 300x. It is the last 3 years of her earning life. She wanted a product to put away just 300,000 consistently for the next 3 years until her contract expires, so that she can be able to draw down and finance a couple of months in her retirement. The person she was talking to at that time was a real estate developer. That was not going to help solve the problem. It wasn't. So I told her, this was back in June 2017, Keith. We had submitted our app, we had built the app, we had submitted our application to the regulators to allow us to take customer serve. The regulators were going through the paperwork, but of course, fundamentally, while the regulator is going through the paperwork, you're always worried, okay, suppose you get the license today, can you get up and running? Who's your first customer? And so that gentleman referred Olive to me. I went to Olive's office, sat down with her, and within the first 20 minutes, she said to me, even if you haven't yet received the regulatory license, I want to be your first customer. This is 59 years old. There is a little bit of humanity here. She had never met me. She wanted to trust an entity that had not even gotten the license with her retirement money. Because I explained exactly what Mr. Yego explained here, that we help you, first of all, figure out what is it that you're saving for? How much do you need to save? And where should it be invested? And how can you monitor the performance? But more importantly, how can you monitor the progress? No one in her life had ever told her that sequence. That is how you invest money, whether you are an institution or an individual or a family or a circle or a retirement scheme. What is your objective? What are the constraints within which you're going to work towards the objective? What are the assets you can possibly allocate your money? How can you monitor performance? But very fundamentally, what is your measure of success? How do you monitor your progress? So Olive told me she wanted to be the first customer. The problem is we didn't have any licenses then. I couldn't take her, I couldn't onboard her. So I said, actually, the regulators told us within the next 2 weeks, we will get a license. Olive was to call me the very next week. Have you got it yet? No, Olive, I actually told you 2 weeks. That's what I told her. So next week, let's talk next week. The next week, she called me every week. Of course, naturally, we didn't get the licenses within 2 weeks. It took us another 5 weeks to get. So when we eventually got the licenses, of course, we had to prepare. But the first day, onboarding my first customer, I was probably happier than I am right now. I was over the moon. And our target that month was very modest. We wanted for the first month to be able to onboard 10 customers on these 2 fingers, two hands. And so Olive was the first. I went to onboard her. Unfortunately, the system broke down. We couldn't. So somebody actually had to help. I had to call the office. You guys forgot something. And then we onboarded her, fortunately, after like 20 minutes. And then she got my hand, walked me to the next office. I onboarded another one. So our first 2 clients were 2 ladies. One was 59. The second one was 42. That's our little bit of history. We failed in our objective of reaching 10 customers the first month. We only managed 8, and that 8 included myself. So you can reduce that if you can do them. It was very difficult. Running a small business in this country is really difficult, despite all the preparations. But the next month we got 34, and on we went to 100. From 100 we went to 1,000. From 1,000 we went to 10,000. The rest on our website. It's history. So this is really about solving that problem for Olive and the olives of this country. Today, she is retired. She never came to our office until this year in January, from 2017. I'll tell you why MTN is so important. MTN, we've chased this relationship for 2.5 years. I'll tell you why. Olive had problems. Those problems were not only to put away that money. She had a salary. She needed a way to put it away. Fortunately, salary arrived in a bank account in her bank. I will not name the bank. Not Mr. Cassie's. Yeah, in her bank account. But it needed to find a way to our custodian bank. As fund managers, we don't receive customers' money. It goes to the custodian bank. But these were two separate banks. So she goes and fills in a form a standing order of 300,000 every 24th day or every 25th day. Many times it failed. And on the month it failed, Olive calls me and says, Aeko, I don't know what has happened. What can I do? Did you receive my money? Is it your problem? It wasn't. So Olive would actually literally walk from our office, skip lunch. She didn't have the sorts of jobs that essentially would allow her to transact online. Skip lunch. So she would go literally and walk into the office, to the bank, one bank, withdraw, and then walk to the custodian bank deposit. That is the story of our life. But we've been able to not only solve the problem for Olive, but for thousands and thousands of Olive. We've gone, like I said, from the first 8 customers to 1,000 customers. And with MTN's help, we want to reach millions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for the dream. For the dream. Wow, wow, wow. We're definitely going to achieve it. We've got one screen there, large enough for all to see. We have 2 short videos for you to catch on. One will be our story as Xeno, and then the other, it can't just be about us, right? It can't just be about us. Someone else got to tell you the dream worked also. So eyes to the screen.
Xeno is a Greek word for out of this world, something other than what you have immediately experienced. Previously, I used to work for a retirement fund, and I was responsible for investing $1.3 billion across the East African region. It was the largest, it still is the largest retirement fund. And so my work was so impactful for the organization that even when I left, smaller retirement schemes used to ask me to help them also evaluate the performance of their portfolios and then structure an investment strategy for them.
I met the founder of Xeno at the NSSF, but it was when he founded Xeno that I had a really in-depth conversation with him about how we could use our expertise to have an impact in the investment industry.
From the first time I had a chat with Aeko, I was so excited. We look at investment from goal-based. You know, in Africa, where you just put your money there without purpose.
Imagine a world where you don't have to sign physical papers to invest. Imagine a world where you are able to invest from the comfort of your home. The ease with which customers are able to access and see how their money is growing. The transparency is one of the key things that made me choose Xeno.
The thing about Xeno is the people that are behind the scenes working. These are all professionals, but more than that, we operate in a highly regulated environment, and we are licensed and regulated, first by the Capital Markets Authority, second by the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority.
With Xeno, a client can get a customized portfolio. They can get a professional investment advice, all in a few clicks.
So depending on what your goal is, we help you plan, we help you save, and then we go ahead and help you invest your savings.
Fundamentally, I believe everyone should have access and the tools to be able to put their money to work. We have the technology to.
We are providing the top industry. So we always want to make sure that our platform is as best and as simple as it can be.
To access Xeno services, you can either use the website myxeno.com, or you can download the Xeno apps, Xeno Investment, on either the App Store or the Google Play Store, or you can use, for now, MTN USSD. If there's anything that I'm to leave you with, is this: you do not need a lot of money to start your investment journey. No.
Xeno is licensed and regulated by the Capital Markets Authority.
Hello, my name is Pumla Nabatwa and I'm an economist. And even though I have some insight on managing my finances, I have for the longest time miserably failed at hitting my targets. Until about 4 years ago, when a young lady came to me from Xeno and spoke to me about the services that Xeno had to offer. I was really amazed because in my mind this was theory, and to have somebody provide me with a saving and investment options in the exact bouquet that I wanted it was mesmerizing. So as a parent, the most important thing to me is my child's future. And I have always known that I needed him to have a really good education. But education is expensive. So as a salary earner, I wasn't sure how to meet the goals that I really wanted for my son. So I set up, my first goal with Xeno was an education plan. And as I started to save for that, I realized, oh, I could also have an emergencies. I mean, we plan and God laughs, right? So why not throw in an emergencies plan as well? And I love that mostly because it helped me actually cater to the needs of my family and friends in need during the COVID-19. So I can testify about the emergencies plan. But what I like the most about Xeno, to be honest, is the fact that it sees me as an individual. It doesn't have a one-size-fits-all investment strategy. So based on my risk appetite, it assesses for me an investment strategy and serves me accordingly. And that's the one thing I really love about it. But above all, financial peace of mind. I have the freedom to live life on my own terms now without so much to worry about. And not just for me or in the present, but also a future to come. This is a legacy of wealth that I'm leaving behind for my children and my children's children, for generations to come.
You have a good reason. So we've been talking about retirements. I think it's about time I bring someone who knows so much about that sphere to talk to us about, why such an opportunity is good for Ugandans to find a way to plan for everything, including retirement. So from the Uganda Retirement Benefits Authority, CEO, Martin Subuga is here with us. Please welcome him for a few remarks.
Well, good afternoon. It's quite a pleasure to be here to celebrate success. Xeno. We regulate Xeno as a fund manager. Capital markets regulate them, but they also have an umbrella scheme that regulate. But when he told me about this new initiative, like any regulator, I had asked a number of questions. For the good reasons, protect your money. You always have to ask, is it good for the population? Will it add value? Will it not expose members' funds to any risk? Okay, you're piloting from the investment and saving side, but I think you can also go into helping people to plan for retirement and save for retirement. There's a lot of success stories about Xeno. But one thing that I thought this partnership is quite very important with MTN, one, the sector today has around 19.4 trillion, that is your money. But that money is distributed among less than 2.8 million Ugandans. But 10% of that actually hold the largest amount of money. Probably those who are paid well, me and you, MTN. That sends a very different signal, that it's not all rosy out there, that actually people have not planned and saved for their retirement. And yet the best principle for saving for retirement is simple, the methodology that we've worked out, and I think that's the basis upon which the law that was developed. Number one, you don't need a lot of money. And that's why for those who are saving under the mandatory arrangement, it's 5%, only 5%. The 95% remains with you. The other principle is consistent. Do it regularly. And of course, the final one, which people always fear, leave it there. Don't get excited about it. And that's where I had a few issues with people who had agitation for midterm access. I still have issues with them, the midterm access. But the principle here is that with Xeno and MTN, which have a very huge, MTN has a very good platform. I'll tell you something about MTN. We've had a few discussions by the few people that I try to sell an idea about this. But for the Xeno idea, I think the amounts they're requiring people to save, it's not much money. It's up to you to sacrifice. But as you appreciate the saving and investment culture, having a targeted idea, I think around that product, you can also think about how you can plan for saving for your retirement. The platform of MTN, which everybody uses, I've always had a discussion with, I'm sorry, I've not had a discussion with the CEO, but you give me all the services. I think I'm an old customer and I really appreciate. But I think I've always thought that you can help that informal person who is not among the 2.8 million, if you look at your clients, and help that person to prepare and save for retirement, indirectly. And with an arrangement like Xenon, if I do any transaction with you, I think you can indirectly save for me for retirement. There's something we can discuss about. But the idea is that direct saving for retirement, the way it is mandatory, is not an attractive thing. And that's why there's a serious enforcement to do that. However, the significant success stories of saving for retirement through indirect means, things where people just realize at some point that on the basis of how I perform, how I deliver on my consumption or using my MTN platform, I can indirectly save for retirement. And that particular small amounts that I talked about, if they're done consistently, can add value to the member. For us, we can assure you, together with Capital Markets Authority, this money is invested in asset classes that we regulate, we oversee, that are providing good returns to the members, and your money will be protected. Doesn't matter how long. The asset classes we're having are very attractive and provide you that good return, double-digit return. Irrespective of the inflation they're having today, you'll definitely get a good return. But the most critical thing for the long term, 10 years, 20 years, until that time of retirement. I once again want to congratulate Xeno and MTN partnership. From our side, we think it's a new vehicle to tap into that untapped territory. That's the informal category. Those who have money and they don't know that they can do a lot with it. Those who spend money on things that probably give them joy and comfort, and that character of spending money can actually also be used to help that person save for retirement. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Thank you so much.
When I had just joined Xeno, I didn't have a clear picture of what I wanted. my goal was just to increase wealth. So I just started like saving just because I wanted wealth. But then as time went on, I've had short-term goals like a car and a TV, fridges. So after the first year, I realized I needed a car. Then they helped me devise a plan, one year plan. So I started saving towards it. And I remember I didn't achieve my goal in 1 year. It took me 2 years. But then I bought my first car. Then the other goals, I started saving up for land. So I'm growing as Xeno is growing. Yes, I would recommend someone to Xeno. Reason being, they help you fight to achieve each individual target, however small it is, however big it is. They move with you, they check on you, there is very good communication. Even though you've slacked back, they bring you back on board. And it is not something you find in, maybe if you're saving in a bank. If you're someone who loves information, they share with you what is happening in the markets, equity markets, treasury bonds. Those are the major reasons why I would recommend someone to this basic and read.
Wow, good news. So I was just bragging and showing that I started, what year? I need to be honest. I'm reading when I joined Xeno, and I was here showing off. Where's my app? I joined in August 2021, and I was sitting right next to Chamaga. We said, only newcomer, soxy. You know, because some of us have been here for years and years. And I thought, then come, tell us the story of Muntu because he's experienced Xeno quite differently than us. So please welcome Andrew Chamagero.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrew Chamagero, Ndimuntu Wawansi. And I'll tell you why. We, the informal sector, we run the economy. We have the money. But the problem is, we don't trust the institutions that are meant to make sense of this information. So I subscribed to Xeno 3 years ago as Omuntu Wawansi. When you go on ground, they call me chair. A short form of chairman. And they called me, they said, we have had something called a Xeno. Well, I told them, well, it's something good. I came to Capital Markets Authority to confirm that it's actually legit. I talked to Mr. Nsubuga to confirm that it's actually valid. And I went on the ground to recruit as more Bantu Bawansi as I can. And at least I recruited 2,000 of them. Because they trust me and my job is to root for them. And this is how I sell it to them. As Abantu Bawansi, the biggest thing that keeps us from financial inclusion is black tax. Many of us take care of our parents, our aunties, our uncles, our siblings, and every funds we get, they take it away for fees, for health, and all. So I told them, if you have the emergency fund, it's going to help us to deal with the emergencies because their emergencies shouldn't be your priority because you need to have your money. Munange, those people understood my concept and they embraced it. And as such, we embarked on a journey of financial literacy. I'll tell you what, Mr. Keith, Mr. Fabian, I was with you in Gulu. We traveled around the country. And it's very clear, and DG, financial literacy, it's appalling in our country. Even these ones here, they know how to earn money. They don't know how to save money. And when they know how to save money, they don't know how to invest money. Because maybe the financial institutions think people know, but they don't know. Then the other challenge I found while engaging my people at the bottom of the pyramid, it's the messaging at times the financial institutions use. You use big words, big figures, big dreams. It does not mean we shouldn't aspire to achieve. But make it affordable for the muntu wa wansi. The monies we have when we are going to the bar, can we convert that into an investment later? I am celebrating 5 years since I last stopped taking alcohol. And I've spent the last 3 years investing with Xeno. I see the ramifications. My wife and I were saving. And I don't believe in my kids tapping into my money is my money. So I opened up for them portfolios that can address the needs. Even in case I'm a journalist, we have elections and at times I'm at the front line. What if a stray bullet hits me? So what becomes of them? So the issue of the messaging and the vehicles we use to send this message down, at times it's not adequate for us. We question those you send. We question the medias you use. Then last and not least, I think the Capital Markets Authority, Keith, you need to come out and you give confidence to the people. There have been quite a lot of Ponzi schemes. Our fingers have been burnt a lot as Abantu Bawansi, and they're in our market. AIM Global is already here. You know about it. I don't know how it operates. The leadership in this country needs to check. They operate. And they swindle my people's money because of lack of financial literacy. So going forward, I want to congratulate MTN and Xeno. We've had meetings with Ayeko. I don't know how many times I kept saying my people understand the concept, but it's not friendly. Tebali ku app, tebabi tegera. My target goal is a farmer deep in Mitoma, in Kabula Soke, in Abim, who cannot understand the app, but they can use the USSD code to afford this kind of service. So today, it's not only about Ayeko and Xeno. To me, I feel you're getting closer to us as Abantu Bawansi. And I want to challenge every person in this room. When you go back home today, if you have a maid, if you have an askari, tell them to dial *165*57# and onboard them. This will save you a lot of emergency funds that will create a hole in your pocket. I thank you.
Hello, my name is Sandra Sekama, and I'm a stay-home mom of 2 boys. I joined Xeno in 2020, and after a friend referred me. And before I joined Xeno, I used to save. I had a fairly good saving culture, but I would save and eat the money. So when I heard of Xeno, I sat in my living room and signed up for an account, and I first opened up an emergency fund. I love the fact that Xeno has goal-based investing, and I was able to open up the emergency fund, and I still have it till now. I've not withdrawn since I opened it. I later opened up a company called Innofix Uganda Limited, and we help people with personal financial management. And we are now using Xeno as our platform to hold our customers accountable. So anyone who joins our challenge, we call it the Justin Challenge, has to sign up for a Xeno account and then start saving. And we keep track of them using the Xeno platform. It makes it so easy to track our customers to make sure that they're saving. We are so excited that Xeno is here, and it also made things so much easier by partnering with MTN. So thank you, Xeno. Thank you, MTN.
Fantastic. I think there were a couple of questions that were geared towards the Capital Markets Authority. So it's, I think, the best time when it's still warm in mind to invite Keith Kalejeda to speak to us. Our African is dead.
Good evening, Acting Governor, CEOs here in your respective capacities, Mr. Fabian Kasi, my board member, the Capital Markets Authority, WIM, Martin, I hadn't seen you around, good to see you here, and all of you, congratulations, Patrick, congratulations, Ayeko. I think this is really your day. I've seen you, I first met Ayeko 13 years ago. I used to be an investment advisor on the board of the NSSF, And that's when I saw this young man making some dashing presentations to the board, and I was like, who's this? What's his claim to fame? He's a CFA, a qualification I respect. There are a few of you in the room. I won't embarrass you, not to make you feel too cool, but Grace Samakula is one of them. I hope I don't miss out any of them. It's a very respected investment management qualification. So that's the first clearinghouse. When Ayeko brought his application, I'm sorry it took 5 weeks. I need to find out why it took that long, because for CFA, you shouldn't second guess, his abilities. You shouldn't second guess his intentions. But we have to do the checks. And that's what we do as a CMA. We do the checks. We check and check under the hood. There's a list of things we check again. Sometimes they don't make sense, but we check because we always fear the public, people, I won't mention their names, but they come and want to audit what you've approved, how you approved it. So being a public entity, we're open to all sorts of scrutiny. We are very pleased to see this happening in the life of Xeno. We want to see more and more people investing through collective investment schemes. We watch with envy as our colleagues in countries like Morocco, Kenya report big figures. I think in Morocco, the CIS is under management about 40% of bank deposits. The economy of Morocco is as big as the economy of East Africa's. In Ghana, it's about 750,000 people who have about $1.1 billion under deposits. On average, that's about 5 million shillings per person. The equivalent in Tanzania is about 7 million shillings per person. Ours is still a bit high, because I think if you average our 1.12 billion through the 33,000 unit trust holders currently, it's about 31 million shillings. So it's still a bit high. We need to see this figure come down. So this initiative of *165*5*7# hash, I actually tested it when I was seated there, and it works. I asked Ayeko when he started running it. He told me November last year, and it's like, I wasn't aware. But anyway, that's a pilot. I'm glad it works. I don't have any reason to doubt what Ayeko does. So it's all right. I mean, this is the official launch, and the fact that you're talking to my colleague, Martin, is good enough. And you have to ask the question, and this is a question we need to ask ourselves: why is Xeno regulated by 2 regulators? I mean, we need to think about this and do something about it. Double reporting, double fees. We feel your pain, but for now, it's in our law, so we have to do what we have to do. So we're really pleased because this app is going to extend the reach to all Ugandans. I don't know how many, I was waiting for the figure of Vim, but he never mentioned it. How many people are potentially able to sign up? 10 million. So I don't know how many of those have web-based phones, but who can do who have the app. But whatever the figure is, I think we're just looking forward to seeing the numbers grow, the assets grow. And I think this is going to be a real plausible alternative to keeping your money seated on bank accounts idly, just being charged now. I know the bankers are here, and Fabian may not be very happy about this, but I think the bankers need to smell the coffee and start thinking about either opening up, unit trust operations, because you run the risk of losing these deposits with time. So it's just wise for you to think about having a parallel operation. You might be wondering, what's the ultimate destination of these assets? In Uganda means you're lending to the government, short-term, long-term. So ultimately, you've got to ask yourself, will the government pay? And I think the answer is yes. It's everybody's worry. I think governments around the world always pay. Even if they're getting under financial stress, the first for the offshores, they can always have a discussion. And I hope I'm not on record here. But they always first pay domestic borrowers because they know that the financial system is so intertwined. The banks lend to government, the pension funds lend to government, individuals lend to government. So it's the first real sign of cracks in the financial system if they start failing to pay domestic. So I really believe that the final destination of these assets is safe. Secondly, it's in equities. I think Xeno is the only one that has 2 equity funds. The regional fund he spoke about, the equities fund. So you can invest in MTN shares indirectly through the equity fund of Xeno and other shares in Nairobi. In case you're fearing you're too petrified Somebody said, you guys who have money don't know how to invest. It's not easy to invest in a share. Deciding which share to buy and why and how much to put in. It's like bathing in cold water. You're so hesitant. Usually when you get into the shower, you start wondering why you are afraid in the first place. But it's not an easy decision to part with your money into some unknown. So you need valuers, fund managers, CFAs, who know what they're doing to tell you that this is the best place. And sometimes you can do it through equity funds that the CIS fund managers whom we license operate. We have 5, Xeno is one of them. Xeno is the most innovative so far. We really appreciate their hard work. Ayeko, when I first met him, he had black hair only. Now I don't know if he's been dyeing it gray to look wiser, but I believe it's the nights out where you've been thinking about what you really did to yourself by starting this venture. Unfortunately, as an entrepreneur, when you start, you can't stop, you can't turn back. So I want to thank MTN for agreeing to partner with Xeno. Xeno's success is our success. The success of all the people we license is our success. Every regulator's nightmare is to make a wrong licensing decision. It's also to make a wrong enforcement decision. So we're always walking on eggshells. We're always trying to be as careful as possible. And because we have also got to think about your Muntu 1Cs whom you brought on board. Those 2,000 people now, I'm going to go thinking about that figure. As we inspect Xeno and all the others, it's real lives that are affected by all this sort of thing. So congratulations, Xeno and the board. You have stood by your friend all this time. Keep standing by him. When we come and ask you hard questions during inspections, it's because of all these people who are watching tonight. So please answer them quickly and happily, right? Do what we ask you to do. We're not just trying to make your life hard. We're trying to make sure that all the people who invest in these securities have the confidence that they were looked after. Thank you very much.
My name is Polycarp Poemaga. I am a sales and marketing agent. I work for Bremas Media Limited. Xeno has helped me education-wise. I saved for an education. That's my plan. So I saved for my daughter's education. So it gave me a mileage to understand how education would cost me in the future. It has helped me that I have gotten to the level where I am comfortable to say that I have this girl's money anytime when it's needed. I've been in Xeno since 2018. Someone approached me and they were like, how are you? Can I talk to you about this? I'm like, what is it? They're like, Xeno, it's this, it helps in planning, investing, and you know how to manage your finances. Then they gave me a procedure. So the procedure they gave me before, it was about emails, internet. So it was a bit difficult for me, but it was a quick one which helped me understand at that moment that I need to plan for my finances. So they are very open, you know, when it comes to finances. They know how to keep your finances, how to update you. They have advisors, they have reviews. Like every time you want to access your account, you access your account. The same way I was recommended is the same way I keep recommending my friends. They made it easy. That mobile money, everywhere you are, you put there your money, then you save something for yourself, then you spend something for yourself, you know. So I can recommend every day, anytime.
Eyes to the screen on how you can actually make this happen. In case you're wondering what the forms are, that is it. Fantastic. So now that you know where the partnership is, and the beauty about it is that you can rename or name your own goal. So it can be girlfriend ones. I haven't even said what it will be for. Like, you guys are just... There's judgment in this room, so I'll move quickly on. There were lots of smiles and nods from this table, which also has our guest speaker, which means there's a lot to say. And I had a nudge from Keith of, the bank needs to now rethink how they're doing things because, yes. Aweko put a smile on his face. So it's going to be interesting to hear from our guest speaker. Please welcome the Deputy Governor Bank of Uganda, Dr. Michael Atingi Ego, to give us his remarks.
Thank you, Flavia. At the risk of not leaving out anybody, I'm just going to say all protocol, as earlier mentioned, is observed because they're giving me a list of people here, but none of them have come, so I don't know whom I'm going to leave out. So I'll just leave at that. So a very good evening to you all. Maybe if I begin, Andrew, I really want to have a word with you. That you were able to mobilize 2,000 chaps at the bottom of the pyramid. I need those techniques, so we'll have a word. Yeah, okay. So it is a great pleasure to visit MTN headquarters and reciprocate the visits to Yolanda, Cuba, Wim, Mr. Yego, and the MTN team, who often call on us at the Bank of Uganda. I would have loved to talk off my head, but I've since learned that it's very dangerous because they can quote you and misquote you, so it's better I have something written. So, thanks to Mr. Ayeko Ongodia for inviting me to speak at this launch of a strategic partnership between Xeno Investment Management and MTN Uganda to help millions of Ugandans save and invest via the USSD, and more so those who have been game, you are bringing them. Before delving into my remarks, let me say how I'm very proud to see Ayeko thriving as an innovator, harnessing technology to take professional fund management services to the masses. Ayeko is a former colleague who spent some time of his formative years as a young professional at the Bank of Uganda and a good ambassador of the Central Bank family. Ayeko, thank you very much. The launch of this partnership between Xeno and MTN is a milestone achievement in the fulfillment of the strategic goal that MS Cuba shared with me during a courtesy call at the Bank of Uganda last year, that was in 2021. Not long after she was appointed the Vice President for Southern and East Africa MTN market. She informed us that MTN was enhancing its mobile financial services to promote the cashless economy and would work with fintechs firms to improve its value-added services by integrating them into the MTN API platforms. Let me request Wim to relay our acknowledgement of this milestone to MS Cuba and to say that the Bank of Uganda will keenly follow the progress of this marriage of finance and technology to enable millions of Ugandans to save and invest for their goals. This marriage has a lot of promise because it brings together a national-wide distribution network by the path-breaking MTN Uganda and an innovative technology-driven approach to fund management by Xeno. It's not hard to see that this is a synergetic and a scalable partnership. The chances of success for this partnership are high because it seeks to take financial services to diverse users wherever they are and to each at their level through convenient and ubiquitous cell phones. You've just listened to a number of testimonials here. In addition, using the USSD will facilitate the financial inclusion of clients at the bottom of economic pyramid. The Noble Party, given the extent of the needs, of gaps. So this financial capability survey actually revealed that. Okay? So what did it say? Just a few statistics. Just over a half, about 58% of adult Ugandans had saved in the last 12 months. That was at the time of the survey. Only 0.1% of adult Ugandans saved by buying financial securities. So Keith and Ayeko, you have a task, all right? However, 45.5% of adult Ugandans were involved in an investment venture. So what does that say? Maybe it's a non-financial venture. Okay, brick and mortar, what have you. Recall that the FSDU, or that is the financial sector deepening Uganda, did a survey during the COVID-19 pandemic. It also showed that 2 out of 3 respondents were unable to raise just 115,000 Ugandan shillings, about $30 at today's exchange rate, in 7 days for emergencies. If you rank the amount of savings available from the smallest to the largest, people's median amount at any given time was only $4,800, which is about $1.3. An overwhelming majority of Ugandans depended on friends, family, and good Samaritans for survival during the pandemic, what Andrew calls the black tax. Indeed, Uganda's high dependency rate predated the pandemic and is likely to persist long after it. And the dire situation of the reported deaths and starvation, unfortunately, in Karamoja that we're seeing today, it shows an urgent need for safety nets at the household level. So how can we save a rainy day? When I was doing economics, my professor at the university, somewhere in the UK, told me that if a squirrel had 3 pieces of nuts, they will put one aside and eat 2. How much more should human beings emulate squirrels? So, an overwhelming majority, I've already said that, but the high level of dependency and vulnerability among the population makes it urgent for all of us to devise ways to boost savings and investments if we are to change the fate of the people we serve as policymakers, regulators, entrepreneurship, or captains of the industry. That's why I like such forum, because you find very brilliant ideas here on how you can mobilize savings, right? The late Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General, threw down the gauntlet saying, the great challenge before us is to address the constraints that exclude people from the full participation in the financial sector. Together, we can and must build inclusive financial sectors that help people improve their lives. I urge all stakeholders in the financial system, each within their means and mandate, to assume the role of change makers, just like AECO has done, and we're witnessing it here today, together with, of course, MTN, to provide mechanisms for savings, borrowing, and investments for all users across income brackets. Universal financial inclusion will help to bring all Ugandans into the money economy, and enriching the breadth of financial services will boost the resilience of the households to shocks. So why do we want to bring everyone to the money economy? You know, sometimes we see that the central bank, we are adjusting the CBR, but there's some people whom the CBR does not affect at all because they have no relationship with the financial sector. So they say, we've had something that's happened, whatever it is for the Kampala people. I hope that Xeno and MTN will establish objective metrics of success and consciously curate the associated data to be used appropriately for policy analysis and tailored client service design. Again, we need this data. So IECO and MTN, Xeno and MTN, we need more of this data because data is becoming a gold mine, because it is through data that we can even formulate very good policies, that we can even build on more products beyond what you have begun. So the idea of sharing data becomes very, very important. So optimal measurement of the progress of this partnership will inform potential enhancements to ensure its effectiveness and sustainability. I hope we can count on you, Ayeko and Ms. Ayego, for the metrics and the data analytics. While MTN as a pioneering player in our market, I'm happy to say that mobile network operators have developed and deployed innovative products like mobile money platforms, which have increased access to and usage of financial services. Until today, the services have included peer-to-peer cash transfers, e-merchant payments, microcredit, micro-savings, and micro-insurance products. In addition, with the partnership we are launching here today, Xeno has brought unit trust funds, a popular form of collective investment schemes, to the MTN MoMo platform. Congratulations for that. Timothy, you will attest that collective investment schemes are growing considerably, with assets under management nearly doubling from about Uganda shillings 570 billion as at the end of March 2021 to now about 1.1 trillion at the end of March 2022. That's just only in 1 year. We hope that this partnership will power forward the growth of collective investment schemes such as unit trust funds, which are Xeno's underlying investment vehicle on the MTN MoMo platform. On a cautionary note, the deployment of technology and the acceleration of digitalization of financial services by the COVID-19 pandemic has spawned new business models and increased financial inclusion. Still, it has stoked cybersecurity risks, enabling hackers to attack IT systems, steal funds and intellectual property, and disrupt services for ransom. So cybersecurity risks can derail financial inclusion that we're trying to promote. So progressing well through digitalizing payment systems and financial services. So we have to be very mindful of this. Therefore, Xeno and MTN MoMo must work tirelessly to safeguard this partnership with robust cybersecurity defenses so as to maintain customer and public confidence in this fusion of finance and technology. I also call upon both partners to optimize efficiencies through continuous technology improvements to keep the cost of transactions and financial services sustainably low, especially given the vast potential of serving those at the bottom of the pyramid. Because if you are going to go to the bottom of the pyramid, the cost is a very, very big factor. So we need to keep down the cost by sharing whatever we have. The impact of this partnership will also be enriched by the devotion of the resources to promote financial and digital literacy for the explicit purposes of empowering the users. Knowledge is power. Again, this is why I want to borrow from Andrew, how we can really do that literacy at the very bottom of the pyramid. So we of course know that once we undertake this, we can then argue that really knowledge is power. On our part, I'm happy to say that this initiative is consistent with the Bank of Uganda strategic plan that prioritizes digital payments for a cashless economy and financial inclusion. Accordingly, the Bank of Uganda will keep promoting progressive stakeholder collaboration and engagement, as well as nurturing innovations in payments ecosystem through the regulatory sandboxes. The regulatory sandbox facilitates the safe testing of innovations in a live setting under the central bank's oversight. The regulatory sandboxes permits experimentation while mitigating the attendant risks. We have already registered one successful tester under the sandbox, with the participant graduating with a full e-money issuer license. As I end my remarks, let me highlight another topical way the Bank of Uganda will support this partnership. I know that Xeno provides value to its clients by investing their savings in financial assets, such as treasury bills and bonds. You may know that such investments are most fruitful when they provide a return exceeding inflation. High inflation is akin to a thief that cuts your pockets stealthily as you squeeze your way through the crowds in downtown Kampala. Inflation erodes money's purchasing power, thereby retarding long-term planning, savings, and investment. I dare say that the worst enemy to the underlying objective of helping people save and invest for their goals is inflation. Recently, inflation has surged, and the projections show that it will exceed our target of average annual core inflation of 5%. Inflation levels above 5% target, in our view, retard economic growth and will not be tolerated by Bank of Uganda. No matter what people say, they can talk until cows come home. We will not tolerate inflation, and therefore will do everything possible to control inflation. And so, when inflation spiked recently, driven by external factors and drought, the BOU increased the central bank rate, CBR, and enhanced the monetary tightening by raising the cash reserve requirements for banks to 10%. And, read my lips, the Bank of Uganda will maintain a tight monetary policy stance to prevent the price increases which have spread across the typical basket of consumer goods and services consumed by households from becoming persistent and spiraling out of control, no matter what you say. So, fostering price stability and a sound financial sector is the most significant contribution we can make to effectiveness of this partnership. So, naturally, we also commit to regulating and stewarding the payment system for sustainable safety and soundness amidst the evolving challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, let me hold my word when I say that within our mandate, Bank of Uganda is prepared to do whatever it takes to restore inflation to low and stable levels in line with maintaining macroeconomic stability. Restoring inflation to 5% target over the medium term, which is 2 to 3 years ahead, is our primary job, and we are committed to doing it. Again, like I say, come rain or shine. The fact that supply shortages caused the recent spike in prices due to the pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and the drought implies that inflation can be brought down sooner if the availability of consumer goods and services improves as quickly as possible. Accordingly, we support all efforts by the government and the private sector to increase the production and the smooth flow of goods and services. We also encourage increased output of high-value exports to boost the forex earning capacity of our country. Before I conclude, let me congratulate WIM on its promotion to the regional role as operating executive for the West and Central Africa markets of Liberia, Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, and Congo-Brazzaville within the MTN group. You have served Uganda very well, and we wish you great success in your new role. I have often had breakfasts, lunches with Kim. We've argued over things. We've argued about the cost of financial transactions, but the most important thing is that at the end of the day, we were able to deliver something that was tangible, and hopefully we will continue lowering the transaction costs of these mobile or digital financial services going forward. So finally, congratulations to Xeno Investments Management and MTN MoMo upon the consummation of this milestone partnership. Thanks to the teams at both Xeno and MTN who worked hard to deliver this success. In the words of Helen Keller, an American author, quote, "Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much," unquote. I thank you all for listening to me, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michael Watingi-Ego, Deputy Governor, the Bank of Uganda. Great remarks, fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, as you might have noted, our guest speaker has spoken, which means, yes, now it's Q&A session. It could be a question from the media or any of you who've attended, our guests, to anyone. It could be the founder. It could be that question for the double regulators. It could be for the Montua Wansi. Whatever question you might have for you to understand what we've discussed today. Xeno, the partnership with MTN, how easy it gets, that would be our best time. So even the media that has joined us today, if anything is not clear, the Q&A session is now. I'll give you a minute. And I was also thinking about how when you were discussing Montua Wansi, there's a group of people you've not considered is fantastic for Xeno. Maybe, Aweko, you might consider them. A few years ago, one of the young men who is Ugandan but has left the US, one of his biggest businesses is passion fruits Otunda. And he's made it, you know who I'm talking about, CAD Africa. He's made a big deal out of it in Fort Porto. But he says the women who he hires to farm and whatever, they earn very little money. And then they go home and then the husband says, bring the money. So what they go to CAD, they tell him, keep our money, give us only 20%. So we say that's what we earn. Then save it for us, find a way to multiply it for us, we'll ask for it when we need it. So their okay, they don't have a pay slip, of course, but what it shows that they earn is only 20% of their actual earnings at the back. Xeno is a way for me to still hold my phone and you wouldn't know what I'm saving for. Yeah. *16, you don't even know it moves from mobile money straight to the Xeno wallet. So you don't even know. So this is one way for that group of women who are from the 2,000 plus people that he's talking to actually grow and invest their money without having to now explain, they need a signature from my husband first. You know? Yeah, the explanations are less because it's individual. And then she can do as many goals as possible. So consider those in the Bantuba Wansi. Any questions? Please raise your hand and I'll come to you. You said to who it's going to so that they know.
My question will go to Mr. Karija. Keith, my question is about these Ponzi schemes. We as Abantu Wansi, these people keep running advertisement on the media every other day, and they're dumping a lot of people. You as a regulator of this, we need to know what could be the best strategies to engage this, and when is the Capital Markets Authority coming out strongly with regards to sensitization and awareness about the Ponzi schemes? What are the red flags? How do we know them? And this will help Xeno penetrate better because they still have the same fears because their fingers have been quite burnt by a lot of these Ponzi schemes. Thank you.
Thank you for that important question. I'm sorry I never answered it earlier. We have continuously and consistently said to the public, and maybe we're not saying it enough, but every time we speak, we try and say it, don't invest through somebody who's not licensed by anyone. And that's the first question that should always be asked. Are you licensed? Who licenses you? Is it credible? Can it be verified? Can you show the license? It's not just a matter of saying, yes, you're licensed. Unfortunately, many people are lured by the high returns that are offered by some of these Ponzi's. And I always say that these returns, when they seem to be too good to be true, they're often too good to be true. We are partnering, recently we did partner with the DPP. We're going to be working with the CID, Uganda Police Force, to really speed up the rate at which we go after these people. A lot of the investigations are determined by the pace at which the police can do this work and take it for prosecution. So there are 3 parts in the process. We've just gotten a prosecution license as the Capital Markets Authority, so we can do the prosecutions ourselves without waiting for the DPP. But the key really lies with how fast the police are able to. So there are usually 2 crimes, taking money by false pretense, also pretending to be a fund manager when you're not. So it's our worry, and it's really our concern. But wherever we can, we try and amplify the message that don't invest with somebody who is not licensed or approved by any regulator. I'm not sure whether that helps, but the reality is that pursuing all the Ponzi schemes that exist in any country, every regulator doesn't have sufficient resources. I was looking at Bank of Uganda, maybe they're a little bit different, but usually resource constraints prevent us from being everywhere and anywhere. We have to be at the same time. So please, an informed and investor is a protected investor. Don't waste your money on things that seem to be too good to be true. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Godfrey Joga Sevukulu. I work for a firm called Frontline Associates, and I live off of fintech cash flows. Question goes to Keith. The Baganda have a saying that the tears, amaziga gente ye sanyuliembwa, as in the tears of the of a cow, as the happiness of a dog. And when you celebrated the achievements of the fund managers to the detriment of the bankers, you nearly, okay? And the governor steps up and tells you now, read my lips, I'm going to tighten and tighten and tighten. And that means they are going to suck up every coin in our pockets as they control inflation. Okay, isn't it about time you people sat together? One man is moving in this direction, then the other one is reversing the gains of the other. Isn't it about time that the regulators came together to work on interventions, on policies and approaches that actually develop this country sustainably?
And just before Keith, I've told Keith the mic will just stay with him, just for safety. But also special recognition for probably 2 reasons. One, please recognize the presence of Patrick from NSSF. He's actually the Deputy Managing Director. Patrick Ayota, thank you for joining us today. You were able to catch most of the gist of the conversation, yes. And the second reason why I stressed, because NSSF, there's a special relationship with the founder. I don't know, you know that story? Yes, nurtured, and then he's saying that why doesn't everyone just sit together and do one thing versus you have a future together. There you go, there's a future together. Keith, I think that question was to you.
I hope I understood the question. It wasn't a very straightforward question.
I think, did you want Fabian Cassie of Centenary Bank to answer?
Or the deputy governor to
or the deputy
a part
governor?
Of it. But
because
I'll pass
it was
the
to
mic.
banks, yeah.
I'll pass the mic on to the person you asked me to pass it on to. Well, I did say that, yes, the reality is that there will be quite a bit of movement of money from bank accounts to CIS accounts with these sort of initiatives, and I think this is not the last. But, these savings always form a small proportion of total money supply. I think the figure is probably north of 18 trillion shillings in money supply. So we're still scratching the surface. We haven't yet got to the point where the bankers should worry. About the bit of inflation and the central bank tightening, pulling up the handbrake while the car is supposed to be moving, I think I'll pass the mic on to yours truly, with your permission. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Keith. I think that question has been asked several times, but let me tell you, when inflation began to increase, actually it began increasing last year. It's not a recent event. It was increasing from last year, largely on account of the COVID-19 pandemic. the most economies in the world had been locked down. So aggregate demand had kind of like been checked on. Likewise, if there's no demand, aggregate supply also, you don't produce for what's not demanded. So most of the production enterprises were shut down. Now, when the economies began to reopen, when they had found vaccines, the standard operating procedures, and then some therapeutics, all right, on how to manage COVID-19, the economies opened and demand began to grow. But demand was growing at a much faster pace than aggregate supply was responding. So we began to see inflation begin to inch upwards, right? So that by the time you come to December 2021, inflation had actually was beginning to get firmed up. Now, in the case of Uganda, it was still below the 5%. I think we're about 2.1 in December, right? Now, come January, the story was the same. But unfortunately, come the Russia-Ukraine conflict, that actually wasn't the whole thing. It disorganized the supply chains, and then with the sanctions, these grain-producing and exporting countries, Russia, I think, is the third biggest oil exporter in the world. Then you have sanctions on that. That actually made matters worse. Now, some of the big palm oil producers, where we import most of our palm oil for cooking oil, for soap making, had their own issues, also related to COVID-19 and a drought. In Latin America, we had the same thing, particularly for the oilseed products. So we see inflation begin to pick up. By the time we were in March, it had actually picked up, but it was isolated. It was limited to only a few commodities. So by the time the March inflation numbers came up, we had our Monetary Policy Committee meeting in April. We did not see any need to tighten monetary policy because it was still isolated. Why do you tighten monetary policy when inflation is limited to one or two products? It doesn't make sense, right? But unfortunately, this inflation began to spread across the entire basket of goods and services. And it came through petroleum prices or fuel prices. It affected almost the cost of everything. And that now resulted into increasing prices of the majority of the goods and services in the consumer price band. Now, theory and also in practice says monetary policy reacts to a generalized increase in the price level, not isolated price increases. So because we had observed a generalized increase in the price level, we opted then, we put our numbers into our modeling and everything, we saw that inflation in the medium term was going to go far above 5% given the conditions, given the data we had at that place. So it was time now to tighten monetary policy. So by the time the MPC met in June, it was evident that this had spread across. So we increased the policy rate by 1 percentage point. Now, we got more data for June, the inflation numbers for June, economic data for June, external developments also for June. And the story was not very pleasant either. And that's why when we called for an extraordinary Monetary Policy Committee meeting in July, because the data was not encouraging. We couldn't wait for August, right, when we were supposed to meet. That's why Bank of Uganda, MPC had an extraordinary meeting in light of this data. And we studied all, so we then decided to raise the policy rate again. Because we are looking at the medium term, where is inflation going to be in the medium term? I say that when we are making judgments about our policy, we look at the medium term, 2 to 3 years from now. We said inflation is likely to remain at about 5% given, so we need to rein it. And I've repeated here that as long as the data, as long as the factors are pointing to a situation where inflation is going to be more than 5% in the medium term, we'll do everything possible to contain it. Now, the issue is, do you act now? Or you wait, you relax and say, okay, no, this is a supply-driven thing, let's wait. This thing will go out of control. And it is more difficult to deal with inflation when it's out of control. I know of countries, right, where inflation was originally single digit, is going to double digit, is now heading towards triple digits because of a wait and see attitude. So for us, we're saying it is better we act now, all right, and let's not allow a de-anchoring of inflationary expectations. Now, I hope, Andrew, I'm not using jargon here. It's okay. Right. That we don't want people to begin raising prices generally, anyhow, all right? Already you see everybody is scrambling for a salary increase and what have you. That is very dangerous if it peaks into the private sector, because prices will just go up. So we need to rein in the thing before it exposes its ugly head completely. You keep it down. So that's why we're acting the way that we're acting. And like I mentioned, we also hope that the aggregate supply side will be triggered. The Minister of Finance read his budget in June, and it was focused on increasing aggregate supply. And if that were to happen, we would rein this inflation sooner than later. But of course, unfortunately, the dry weather conditions are not helping us. So that's where the challenge comes. Now the question is, do you sit down and just watch that this is a supply driven, I can't do anything about it? We need to rein in the aggregate demand that has spread, where inflation has spread into other commodities, where we can check that demand not affected by supply conditions. So that's why we are tightening, and that's why we say we'll continue tightening that particular component of demand as long as inflation projections are threatening to go above 5%. Because once inflation is out of control, it is very difficult to bring it back. Thank you, Flavia.
All right. We'll call Andrew Chamagero to summarize this in just 5 sentences for us, Omontuwa Wansi. I was hoping we close the Q&A session for now. Yes. Because normally I'd keep time for all events. This one, it has defeated me, so I'm trying to defeat it as well. So allow me, as we close, to have a photo moment. But first of all, thank you for coming. You now know what to preach. You know what to tell people. It's as easy as, it's your money. Now you know where it's going, how it will grow, and what it will do. And you know what you need for what goal. So it's as easy as that. So thank you so much for coming. First of all, a deep congratulations to Xeno. This is not small, yeah? Along with the gray hair you've had to earn over time. Well done.